The cells in our bodies have different sizes and shape, but have you ever thought of how cells know when they should grow or when they should stop? How do they know what size they're supposed to be? How do they know how or what to become? There are many different developmental networks that activate and repress certain genes that leads to the formation of things like spikes in the ectoderm of the spiny beetle. Some cells in the ectoderm in the spiny beetle have spikes, others are smooth. To show how a cell could form spikes, let's use a hypothetical developmental network. Keep in mind that not all pieces of the network are present in all the cells. Some genes can be muted in the pathway, which results in an inhibition of a characteristic. In our example, the spikes. Every gene doesn't need to be expressed everywhere in the body. If a characteristic is not needed in a certain cell, for example, the spikes are not needed in the cells of the ectoderm in the stomach of the spiny beetle, then not all the genes in the pathway need to be activated or present. The following examples that go to represent and cover the muted genes. Before looking at a developmental pathway, you have to understand that the arrow means to activate and the T-bar means to repress or inhibit. For example, A arrow B, this would read A activate or stimulate B. If you take away A, there would be nothing to activate or stimulate B, which causes B to not be expressed. A T-bar B, for this one, it would be translated to A represses or inhibits B. A's normal function is to prevent B from being created, so if A is present, then you can't have B. Going back to our ectoderm spike cells, the hypothetical pathway would read, the S would be activating or stimulating P will activate or stimulate I will repress or inhibit K, preventing K from inhibiting E. Since E is not inhibited by K, it's able to form spikes. So what if P was muted? If P is muted, then I will not be able to inhibit the K, so the K will inhibit the E. And since E is not there to stimulate spikes because it's inhibited, spikes will not form. What if the I is muted? If the I is muted, then the K will not be inhibited, which causes the K to inhibit or repress the E, which also results in spikes not forming. If this developmental pathway has double mutant strands, the I and the E, the following will happen. S will activate the P, but since I is muted, there is nothing that can inhibit or repress the K. E is needed to activate the spikes. Since it's muted, the spikes will not form. Another example of the mutant pathway of the ectoderm of the spiny beetle is when S and K are muted. There is nothing to activate P, so it won't be able to activate I, but since K is muted, there is nothing inhibiting the E. So, E will activate and produce spikes in certain cells of the ectoderm of the spiny beetle.